It's been a long time since I've filmed a podcast episode. I've had a lot of big changes and just adjusting to my new lifestyle. I've moved house, I've moved town um, temporarily. So there's just a lot going on. And I was just having a minute to kind of find my rhythm. And I think the last time that I filmed, I was recognizing that there was a few things in my life that weren't quite aligned, and there was a few things that I wasn't quite happy with 100%. And that's why I filmed those episodes, because I was talking about friendships that maybe were coming to an end, and connections that were coming to an end, and daily routines that were coming to an end. That's kind of the space that I was in when I last filmed. And now, a couple of weeks later, I'm so much more settled. I'm so much more content and happy with the way that things are starting to work out. There's a couple of things that I want to talk about. I'm already like blushing because it's things that are just so personal, but I know that my thought process and the way that like I've had to challenge myself in order to get here is something that a lot of people will experience. And I think it's comforting to hear other people's experiences, and that's sort of why I started this. Also to just talk about, random topics, but recently, because I've been going so much through so much self-change, that's kind of where the basis for these next few episodes. One thing that I've noticed recently is people asking me the same sort of like three or four questions, right? And I think that can be quite common for people who maybe have finished uni and haven't gone the classic route of going straight into a full-time job or straight into an internship. Like, if that's just not your vibe, then I feel like people can get quite like actually kind of intrusive and nosy, and they want to know everything that you're doing. They want to know, and to be fair, sometimes it comes from quite a pure place, but sometimes when it's elders or people that you aren't as close with anymore, it can feel kind of like an invasion of privacy, and it can feel like pressure. And I really try not to invite any outside pressure at all, because I already have so much self motivation and so much self drive that I don't need external factors to keep me motivated or to challenge me and to make me move on to a new stage of life. So I tend to just ignore it anyways. But nevertheless, you are going to have those conversations. Like, one of the conversations I've been having a lot recently with people is, do you have a driving license yet? Do you have a driving license yet? And the answer is no, I don't. Like, I've been trying to learn to drive for 4 years, and I'd say, I don't know why, I've kind of struggled with it. Um, I have taken a couple of tests. Well, I've taken one test and I failed on something kind of silly, in my opinion. And I got like two minors. And it was one of those things where if I'd taken it again the next week or whatever, in a couple of weeks after, because I think you have to leave a bit of a gap, I probably would have passed, right? But I had so much going on in my life that I just put it to the side. And it's probably been that way for about 6 months to a year. I don't know the exact time frame. Okay. And it's so funny when you want something so badly, it causes so much stress in your head. And I think there does come a point where you have to sort of sit back and think, okay, yeah, I really want my driving license. It would help me with a lot of things. It would help me with getting around. It would help me with, thing is, I don't even want to say independence, because I just have no issue on getting on a bus or getting on a tube. Like, it doesn't bother me, or getting an Uber. It doesn't bother me. And have lived my life in that way for quite a long time. So that, like, for example, if I need to just get an Uber somewhere for convenience, like, I have that scheduled into my budget anyways. So, I just have no issues with that. And I don't feel like socially awkward about that in any way. But I don't know, maybe some people do. Which is why they keep asking me, which is fine. They can like hold the embarrassment for me, because I don't want to ever feel embarrassed. So they can just keep it. But yeah, I think I wanted it so badly and it was causing me so much stress, and I just thought it's not the end of the world. It's actually not the end of the world, and maybe there are better things that you could be putting your energy towards, because if I've spent 3 to 4 years trying to get my license and I haven't got it yet, I don't know, personally for me, like I just take that as a sign, because I'm a hard worker, I'm dedicated. Like it's not like I don't often fail at something that I want to achieve, because I don't really believe in the word fail anyways. I don't think you can really fail at something. But well, I mean, you can. But yeah, I in terms of this, I think it's just timing, right? And it's perspective. It's timing and perspective. If you feel okay with yourself not having a driving license, then like, do you know what I mean? Like, whose business is it to tell you, oh, maybe you should think about getting your license? Like, have you not thought about getting your license? It's like, babe, have I not thought about getting my license? I've been going through such a like an emotional, spiritual transition in the last couple of weeks. No, girl, I haven't been thinking about sitting in a car with like a 40-year-old man, 50-year-old man talking to me in my ear about how to drive. No, I haven't thought about doing that. I think I'm definitely getting better at kind of skirting around conversation and taking back control over conversation. Because if you're someone like me and you believe that intention is everything, and words carry a big weight, and you just want to be aware of what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're acting, how you respond, how you treat people, the kind of energy that you're putting out, right? Then when you get caught in these conversations, it can feel really awkward, because in my head, I'm like, okay, do you know what? I don't really owe them an explanation, number one. And number two, I don't want to go down some sort of like negative route and make myself feel bad for something that I don't feel bad for. I don't feel bad about this. So why should I make someone else try and convince me that I should, you know? But yeah, I definitely think I'm getting better at choosing my words and pacing the way that I speak and my tone, and kind of letting people know like, hey, like, I appreciate your opinion. Like, I get that. I understand why you'd ask me that question, but I'm not gonna go into detail about it, because it doesn't need to be spoken about. Um, and there's a couple things like that. I mean, career is another big one. Um, that people tend to ask you when you've graduated and you're kind of like in limbo. But I wouldn't really say that I'm in limbo though, because I know what I'm doing and I know what I want. And I don't really feel the need to explain. I mean, probably like if someone sat down and watched these videos like over the next couple months, the videos that I'm going to be posting, you'll get to know pretty well what my day-to-day is, and you'll get to know what my main focus, like my core focuses are. But in terms of the opportunities that I have at the moment and the paths that are kind of laying out, and sort of, the roads that are kind of slowly forming and coming together, you don't have to explain what all of those roads are. And I don't think that's lying. I don't think that's, I mean, yeah, okay, it's withholding information, right? And I think that's completely okay. I saw a post the other day. It was like, oh, I saw someone getting blocked because they didn't reply within 2 days. I've got messages like that, blah blah blah. It was basically saying that we're way too like available. We're way too available for other people. Like, I don't need to text you back in the same day, and that coincides with information. You don't have to give everyone your whole plan all the time, and you literally don't owe it to someone. I don't care, okay, if you spend every single day with somebody, you love them to death, they love you to death, whatever, your best friends, your partners, whatever, they don't have to know everything about your life. I think privacy, and I would even go as far as to use the word secrecy, is such a beautiful thing if it's done in a intentional and kind way. Okay, I don't obviously agree with keeping secrets from people who deserve to know the truth about something, or you're perhaps putting them and your relationship or friendship with them in harm's way because you're holding this secret. But it's okay to have little parts of yourself that only you get to know. And I think, one of the things that I wrote in my notes for these few episodes, a topic that I wanted to touch on, was people just aren't alone enough. You don't spend enough time on your own, and that's why you're miserable. That's why you're so sad, because you spend every day waking up in the morning, right? Okay, who can I see today? Like, ugh, what can I do? Like, what can I post? What can I engage with? And you're constantly looking. And guys, this isn't new wisdom. I've said this, I say this all the time on my episodes. Like, I'm not providing new information, really. I'm just kind of, laying it out from my experience, and maybe this will, it's just good to hear these things and to remind yourselves, I think. Or if you haven't heard it before, then, fair enough. Everyone's on their own journey. But yeah, like, you're always looking outside for new things, and you're literally rejecting yourself. And that's where so much pain and misery comes from, because you're just self-hating. I know it sounds like low-key dramatic, like, okay, girl, like, just because I want to go and see my friends at the weekend, and I don't want to sit at home and whatever, journal and, like, do a little Stefan Salvatore, like, that doesn't mean that, I'm dying inside. But I feel like that is the perspective you have because you don't realize that your soul is dying. Your soul is being brainwashed and molded into what everyone else wants you to do. And now that has contaminated your way of thinking, because you're like, oh no, I do want to, like, this is fun. I do want to do this. I do want to do this. And I guess I just always go to that example of, like, going out and drinking with your friends, because it's something very, like, it's something that I've intentionally pushed out of my day to day, or even, like, my month to month. I've very intentionally kind of tried to eradicate and reduce that to, like, a minimal. But there are other things. I mean, social media, or even just running errands. Like, you don't need someone to run errands with you all the time. You don't need to do that. I've had that before, where I've gotten stuck in a day-to-day process of having, like, everything I was doing, I was with someone. And that can happen a lot at uni. But it also used to happen a lot in sixth form, where it's like, where you're in school all the time with people, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna go to the shop, but you can't go to the shop on your own. Do you know what I mean? It's not normal. Why would you go to the shop on your own? Do you know what I mean? Little things like that. But there's moments with yourself that you're completely missing, because maybe if you was to do that 5-minute trip to the corner shop on your own, you don't know the headspace that gets made for other thoughts, for feelings, for reflections to kind of come to you, because you're with your friend, and 9 times out of 10, that experience leans towards the negative. I'm not saying that there can't be positive social interactions with other people. That's ridiculous. Like, I had this one friend, and I knew for a fact if I was going to the shop with her, it would just be it would be complaining. It would just be like, oh, I'm so tired. Oh, I want to go home. Oh, I feel so bloated. Oh, my head hurts. Oh, da 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 da. Do you know what I mean? And that was our conversations. And obviously at the time, like, that does ignite some sort of passion inside of you. Like, it's nice to relate about those kind of things. It's nice about, oh, I really hate the way that teacher speaks. I can't stand her. Or, oh, what was the point in that lesson? Like, da da da, etc. That is a bonding experience, and we've all experienced that, and you should experience that. I'm not saying that if you're complaining then it's bad. You're obviously going to complain. It's a human thing, okay? I also had another friend who I knew for a fact that if I went to the shop with her, we'd be talking about the various, like, guys, inside the sixth form or outside the sixth form that I guess we had like fleeting teenage crushes on, right? And that is positive, right? But it can also lean to the negative because it becomes, it didn't with her. I'll be honest, actually, she's probably one of the friends that I've had that it hasn't gotten there, but it can, and I'm sure there's some people that experience this, lead or lean into the negative because then it becomes competitive. It becomes a case of, oh wow, like she's had more of an advancement in that since like we've last spoken, and actually my situation's gotten worse, or like my situation is fizzling out. So then you're kind of left with this feeling of displacement and you don't know what to do with it, and so then your brain redirects it into just, you should feel bad, you should feel not good enough, you should feel self-loathing. Okay, so yeah, that's just one of the things that I want to touch on. And also a big thing I think in our generation, like a term that we've coined is like oversharing. We are oversharers. Like we don't need to tell everybody everything all the time. And that's why even when I do these podcasts, I really reduce down the information that I could give, because I don't want to overshare. I don't want to make someone else feel bad as well, because for the people that are around me, there's certain topics, certain people, certain situations and memories, it will be very painfully obvious to them that they're involved in some sort of way. And I also feel a kind of responsibility to protect that. That's kind of the first topic, is oversharing and over or underselling yourself because you feel like you need to give someone a certain answer. Sometimes that can work in your favor though. Like if you find that you're really hitting a wall communication wise with someone, and it's very obvious that they are not going to move on from this topic and they are not going to let this go until they hear the magic words, then by all means, like give it to them, even if it's a lie. Bro, I've been doing this so much recently, and I genuinely don't feel bad about it because it doesn't come from a negative place. It's a protective place, and everyone owes that to themselves. Like I've got friends who I know for a fact when they are telling me something, they're skirting around the truth, and that's fine, babe. I'm not gonna judge you, okay? I'm not gonna judge you, like, because you're still figuring it out as well. Maybe the reason that you're tripping over your words, maybe the reason that you don't know if you want to tell them the truth is because you don't know what the truth is yet. You don't know what that feels like. You don't know what that looks like, you know? And a really simple thing would be career. Okay, that's something that I think most people can relate to. I do need to try and think of new life examples, but yeah, one of the big things is that like I came from a fairly small town and then I moved to a big city where I had uni, etc., etc., and I had friends who didn't choose that route. I had friends that did, but I also had friends that didn't. And if I asked them, are you happy here still? Like, after, maybe an hour or two of catching up, you start to get into those deeper existential questions of, do you still feel like this is home? Are you still content? Do you still feel challenged enough? And whatever. And I've had conversations with people who have been upfront and said, do you know what? I don't know. Sometimes I do feel fulfilled. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I wish I had more. Sometimes I feel okay with where I am. And you also get some friends who clearly feel flustered by by that question, and they feel like, should I just kind of make something up? And that's totally okay. It's also important as a friend that you can recognize when to pull back if someone is like that. Don't pressure someone. Don't push them. Like, give people a way out. Give people an exit. And that's going to differ from friend to friend because you're going to have different bonds with certain people. Like there's a couple, there's a very few minority of girls who will be able to just call, like they'll be able to tell. I would probably expect them to pull me up and be like, is that actually how you feel? Is that actually what's going on? And that's a safe space. But then there's also some friends who I wouldn't expect that kind of push from them. And so therefore I do not have any right to push someone out of their comfort zone either. Like, if you can tell that someone's body language is changing, they're starting to feel a bit like tight within themselves, they're starting to feel a bit like, oh, like anxious, that's fine. And I always I tend to, if I do kind of find that, I do tend to, even if they haven't said to me, I'm still figuring it out, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm having episodes of depression, I'm having feelings of doubt and self-hate, whatever, okay? Even if they haven't explicitly said that to me, but I can sense that that's the kind of thought pattern that they've been stuck in for a while. Offer them something, offer them a part of you to reassure them. And again, you have control over that. It doesn't have to be like the most gut-wrenching thing that's happened to you in the last year, but it might be something small, it might be a small rejection, it might be a small doubt, a small anxiety, a small stress, or it could be a bigger one, whatever feels right in that moment. But I think that's an important practice to not only protect yourself, but protect others. Don't be the one that's over, no, that's the wrong word. Don't be nosy. Don't be nosy past your limit. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah. Bye. I'm going to go on to the next topic.